The sun beat down on the waiting parents at St. Bartholomew College. Mama Ifeanyi clutched a container of jollof rice, her son's favorite. Her heart danced with joy. Today, she would see Tund again after 3 long months. When he appeared through the crowd, her smile froze. His face was swollen. One arm hung in a sling. He walked slowly, like an old man carrying invisible chains. "Tund," she called, rushing forward. He forced a weak smile. "Mummy, I'm fine." But his eyes told a different story. They were hollow, afraid. When she reached to hug him, he winced. "What happened to you?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Before he could answer, a tall boy in a prefect's uniform walked past. His cold eyes swept over Tund. The boy's lips curved into a cruel smile. Tund's whole body tensed. He grabbed his mother's hand. "Mummy, please," he whispered urgently. "Don't ask questions here. Not now. Please." Mama Ifeanyi's heart shattered. This wasn't her son. This trembling, broken boy was a stranger. And in that moment, she knew. Something terrible was happening behind these polished school walls. 6 months earlier, life was different. Mama Ifeanyi's small catering business had finally grown. Every naira she saved went into one dream, sending Tund to the best school in Lagos. "My son will become somebody important," she told her neighbors proudly. "Not like us who struggled in the streets." The day Tund received his admission letter to St. Bartholomew College, the whole compound celebrated. Neighbors brought gifts. The landlord smiled and said, "Your mother is sacrificing everything for you, boy. Make her proud." Tund nodded, his chest swelling with determination. "I will, sir. I promise." At the bus park, Mama Ifeanyi adjusted his new uniform for the 10th time. Tears filled her eyes. "Study hard. Behave well. Remember, you're carrying our family's hope." "Yes, Mummy," Tund replied, hugging her tight. As the bus pulled away, she waved until it disappeared. Her heart was full of hope. She didn't know that the grand gates of St. Bartholomew would swallow her son whole. She didn't know that behind those walls, boys learned lessons no mother would ever teach. And she didn't know that by the time she saw him again, the light in his eyes would be almost gone. The bus stopped at the school compound. Tund stared at the massive buildings, the green fields, the statue of the school's founder. Everything looked perfect, clean, respectable. "All new students, follow me," a senior boy shouted. Tund grabbed his bag and followed the crowd to the dormitory. Inside, the air felt different. Heavy, tense. "You," a voice barked. "Yes, you with the new bag. Come here." Tund turned. A muscular boy with tribal marks on his cheeks stood before him. His name tag read, "Segan, school prefect." "What's your name?" Segan demanded. "Tund, sir." "Sir." Segan laughed. The other seniors joined in. "You hear that? He called me sir. This one still thinks he's in primary school." The laughter grew louder, crueler. "Kneel down," Segan ordered. Tund hesitated. "But I didn't do anything wrong." "Kneel." Tund dropped to his knees. His heart pounded. Segan circled him slowly, like a lion around prey. "Welcome to the jungle, small boy. Here, you are nothing. You own nothing. Not even your name. When I call you, you come. When I tell you to bark like a dog, you bark. Do you understand?" Tund's throat tightened. "Yes, sir." "Good. Now bark." That night, Tund lay on his narrow bed, staring at the ceiling. His knees still hurt from kneeling on the concrete floor. Around him, other boys whispered in the darkness. "Don't worry," a voice said beside him. "It gets easier." Tund turned. A thin boy with kind eyes smiled weakly. "My name is Uche. I'm also in Form 1. Do they always treat us like this?" Tund asked. Uche's smile faded. "Always. It's called orientation. They say it teaches us respect. But really it's just cruelty." Before Tund could respond, a scream pierced the night. It came from the next dormitory. Long, desperate, full of pain. The boys fell silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, footsteps. Senior boys walked past their door, laughing. One of them called out loudly, "Who's next? Which small boy wants to be a man?" Tund pulled his blanket over his head. His whole body shook. Back home, his mother was probably praying for him, imagining him safe, studying under bright lights. But here, in this place of prestige and reputation, He was learning a different lesson. He was learning fear. Uche whispered in the darkness, "Tomorrow, it might be your turn." Days passed like slow torture. Every morning, Tund woke up hoping things would get better. They never did. He was ordered to wash seniors' clothes, fetch their water, kneel for hours if he was too slow. And always, he had to pretend everything was fine. When Mama Ifyinanya called, he forced cheerfulness into his voice. "Mummy, school is good. I'm learning plenty. The food is nice." Lies. All lies. But he couldn't tell her the truth. Segan had warned him, "If your mother complains, we'll deal with you properly." One afternoon, Uche was caught sneaking food from the kitchen. He had been so hungry, he couldn't help it. The seniors dragged him to the assembly ground. Segan stood over him, holding a thick cane. "This one thinks he's smart, stealing food like a rat." The other seniors gathered, forming a circle. Junior students were forced to watch. "Tund," Segan called. "Come here. You'll count the strokes. If you miscount, you join him." Tund's legs felt like water. He stumbled forward. Segan raised the cane high. "Count!" The cane whistled through the air. Uche screamed. "1." Tund whispered, tears streaming down his face. By the time it reached 20, Uche's back was bleeding. Tund vomited behind the dormitory afterward. Weeks turned into months. Tund changed. He stopped smiling, stopped hoping. He learned to keep his head down, his mouth shut, his heart locked away. One day, Segan called him. "You're smart, Tund. I like you. From now on, you're my errand boy. Fetch my food, wash my uniform, carry my books. Do that, and I'll protect you." Tund knew what it meant. Protection came at a price. He would become part of the system, part of the cruelty. But what choice did he have? "Yes, sir," he whispered. Segan smiled. "Good boy. You're learning." From that day, Tund's life became easier. He was no longer beaten, no longer humiliated publicly. But inside, something darker grew. Guilt, shame, self-hatred. He watched other juniors suffer, and he did nothing. He fetched water while they knelt in the sun. He ate while they starved. One evening, he delivered an envelope to a teacher. Inside was money. Segan was bribing teachers for exam marks. The teacher took it without hesitation. "Tell Segan I'll handle it." Tund walked back slowly, his heart heavy. The corruption wasn't just among students. It infected everyone. Teachers, staff. The whole system was rotten. That night, he whispered to himself, "What am I becoming?" Tund began doing things he once thought were unthinkable. He shouted at smaller boys, slapped them when they were slow. He told himself it was survival. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was becoming one of them. Mama Ifyinanya called again. Her voice was warm, hopeful. "Tund, my son, how are your studies? Are you eating well?" "Yes, Mummy. Everything is fine." His voice was flat, empty. She noticed. "Tund, are you sure? You sound different." "I'm just tired, Mummy. Exams are coming." Another lie. But it was easier than the truth. How could he explain what he had become? How could he tell her that her dream school was a nightmare? That night, Segan summoned him. "Tomorrow, you're ready for the real test. Midnight. Don't be late." Tund's stomach twisted. He had heard rumors. Whispers about secret initiations. Boys who came back changed. Boys who never came back at all. "What test?" he asked, his voice shaking. Segan's smile was cold. "You'll see. It's how we separate the men from the boys." Tund lay in bed that night, unable to sleep. Beside him, Uche whispered, "Don't go. Whatever they're planning, don't go." But Tund knew. Refusing wasn't an option. Not anymore. Midnight came too quickly. Tund and 5 other juniors were blindfolded and led to the school field. The air was cold. The only sounds were their footsteps and the distant hum of generators. "Kneel," a voice commanded. They obeyed. Segan's voice echoed in the darkness. "Tonight, you become men. Tonight, you prove your loyalty." Tund's heart hammered in his chest. "Crawl." Through the mud. Like the worms you are. They crawled. The mud was thick, cold, suffocating. Tund's hands sank deep. His uniform soaked through. "Faster," someone shouted, kicking him from behind. Then came the pledges. Horrible, humiliating words they were forced to repeat. Words that stripped them of dignity, of humanity. Finally, the worst part. They were told to hold stripped electrical wires. It's just a small shock, Segan said, laughing. Real men can take it. The first boy screamed. His body jerked. He collapsed. Tun froze. This wasn't discipline. This wasn't teaching respect. This was torture. When his turn came, the shock tore through him like fire. He bit his tongue to keep from screaming. Afterward, Segan leaned close, his breath hot on Tun's ear. If you tell anyone, your mother, a teacher, anyone, she will pay. Do you understand? Tun nodded, trembling. Sunday came. The whole school gathered in the chapel for service. The chaplain stood at the pulpit, his voice loud and righteous. Discipline makes a man, he preached. Honor comes through suffering. God rewards those who endure. Tun sat in the front row, his body aching. Beneath his sleeves, bruises painted his skin in shades of purple and yellow. Beside him, Uche limped into the pew. His face was pale. His hands shook. Are you okay? Tun whispered. Uche didn't answer. His eyes were distant, empty. The chaplain continued. This school molds boys into leaders. If you cannot endure small pains now, how will you face the world tomorrow? The congregation nodded. Parents in the audience smiled, believing every word. But Tun wanted to scream. He wanted to stand up and shout the truth. This wasn't discipline. This was destruction. Suddenly, Uche swayed. His body crumpled. He collapsed onto the floor. People gasped. Teachers rushed forward. Tun saw it clearly, blood seeping through Uche's white shirt. The school nurse arrived, glanced at him, and announced calmly, It's just malaria. He'll be fine. But Tun knew better. And so, did everyone pretending not to see. That night, Segan gathered the juniors in the dormitory. His eyes were wild, dangerous. He pointed at Uche, who stood trembling in the corner. This one thinks he's special, Segan said. He fainted in church. Made the school look bad. The seniors laughed. Strip, Segan ordered. Uche's eyes widened. Please. I didn't mean to. Strip. Slowly, Uche removed his shirt, then his trousers. He stood there, naked and shaking, tears streaming down his face. Now crawl. Around the room. Like the dog you are. Tun's fists clenched. He wanted to step forward to stop it, but fear paralyzed him. Uche crawled. The seniors mocked him, kicked him, spat on him. And when it was over, Segan smiled. Good. Now you know your place. That night, Uche tried to run away. He packed his bag silently and slipped out of the dormitory. But the security guards caught him at the gate. The next morning, his bed was empty. No announcement. No explanation. Just whispers. He was transferred, someone said. But Tun knew. Uche was gone. Maybe sent home in disgrace. Maybe something worse. And for the first time, Tun couldn't sleep. The guilt, the fear, the horror. It was all too much. We returned to where the story began. Mama Ifyinanya stood face to face with her broken son, her heart screaming questions she was afraid to ask. But this time, she refused to stay silent. After visiting hours ended, she marched to the principal's office. The secretary tried to stop her. Madam, you need an appointment. I need to see him now. Mama Ifyinanya's voice shook the walls. The principal, a man with gray hair and tired eyes, sighed when she entered. Mrs. Adekunle, what is the problem? My son is injured. Traumatized. What is happening in this school? The principal leaned back in his chair. Boys will be boys, madam. This is a boarding school, not a holiday camp. They're learning discipline. Discipline. Mama Ifyinanya's voice rose. His arm is broken. He can't even look me in the eye. These things happen. Sports injuries. Rough play. Your son is fine. He is not fine. The principal's face hardened. Madam, if you're not satisfied, you can withdraw him. But I assure you, St. Bartholomew produces the best students in Lagos. A little toughness is necessary. Mama Ifyinanya stared at him, her hands trembling. Then, slowly, she pulled out her phone. She had recorded the entire conversation. Thank you, sir, she said quietly. I'll be back. 1 week later, the Parent-Teacher Association held its monthly meeting. Rows of parents sat in the school hall, nodding as the principal gave his usual speech about excellence and discipline. Then Mama Ifyinanya stood up. Excuse me, sir. May I speak? The principal's smile tightened. Madam, we have an agenda. This will only take a moment. Her voice was calm, but firm. She walked to the front of the hall. Every eye turned to her. My name is Ifyinanya Adekunle. My son is Tund, a Form 1 student. And I want you all to hear something. She pressed play on her phone. The principal's voice filled the hall. Boys will be boys. A little toughness is necessary. The room erupted. Parents whispered. Some looked shocked, others uncomfortable. One father stood up, his voice defensive. Madam, these are just boys' games. My own father beat me in school, and I turned out fine. But a mother in the back row began to cry. My son stopped calling me. I thought he was just busy. Another parent added, mine too. He doesn't smile anymore. The principal tried to regain control. This is a misunderstanding. But Segan's father, a wealthy politician, stood abruptly. This is nonsense. My son is a prefect, not a criminal. He stormed out, furious. But the seed was planted. Doubt had entered the room. 3 days later, everything exploded. A student, no one knew who, leaked a video online. It showed the midnight initiation. Boys crawling in mud, screaming from electric shocks. Seniors laughing. The video went viral. Within hours, it was everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp groups, news stations. Breaking news. Prestigious Lego school under investigation for abuse. Reporters swarmed the school gates. Parents arrived in panic, demanding answers. The Ministry of Education sent inspectors. Segan was arrested. His father's political power couldn't save him this time. Teachers were suspended. The principal resigned. But the most shocking revelation came when Tund discovered something terrible. The teacher who had ignored the abuse, the one who took bribes, was Mr. Adeyemi, his mother's old friend, the man who had once helped her get the catering contract that paid for Tund's school fees. When Mama Ifyinanya learned this, she wept. Even him. Tund held her hand. Mummy, the whole system was rotten. It wasn't just one person, but the betrayal cut deep. Everyone had failed. Teachers, parents, friends. The entire institution had chosen silence over truth. And now, finally, the silence was broken. The school was shut down for investigations. Students were sent home. For weeks, the story dominated the news. Public hearings were held. Parents testified. Students spoke, their voices shaking but strong. Slowly, the full horror emerged. Years of abuse. Boys who had suffered in silence. Some who had left traumatized. Some who never recovered. At home, Tund barely spoke. He sat by the window, staring at nothing. Mama Ifyinanya cooked his favorite meals, but he barely ate. One evening, Segan's father appeared on television. The once proud politician looked broken. I failed my son, he admitted, his voice cracking. I went through the same system. I suffered too, but I said nothing. I thought it made me strong. I was wrong. He wept on national TV. And somehow, that broke something in the country. Parents everywhere began asking questions. What were their children really experiencing? What had they ignored? Weeks later, a public hearing was announced. Survivors were invited to testify. Mama Ifyinanya looked at Tund. You don't have to go. But Tund stood up slowly. His voice was quiet but firm. I have to, Mummy. For Uche. For everyone who couldn't speak. On the day of the hearing, Tund stood before a room full of people. His hand shook. His voice trembled. But he spoke. Every word. Every truth. Months later, St. Bartholomew College reopened. But everything had changed. New management. New rules. Counselors. Strict oversight. Zero tolerance for abuse. On the first day, parents and students gathered in the school compound. Mama Ifyinanya was there, standing beside Tund. The new principal addressed the crowd. We failed these children. But today we begin again. With truth. With accountability. With compassion. Then, Tund was invited to plant a tree in front of the dormitory. A symbol of new beginnings. He knelt, dug into the soil, and placed the young tree carefully. As he patted the earth around it, he whispered, "We can't change what they did, but we can stop it from happening again." The crowd clapped. Some cried. Mama Ifyinanya placed her hand on his shoulder, pride and sorrow mingling in her eyes. As they walked away together, the storyteller's voice returned, soft and wise. And so, my children, remember this. True education is not in certificates or prestige. It is in the humanity we protect in each other. When silence protects cruelty, speaking out becomes the highest form of courage. Mama Ifeanyi's love and Tun's bravery taught a city that success without empathy is failure in disguise. May we never forget. The end.